Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with David Breton. This episode of Spending Time, we are speaking all about the Rolex Day-Date, aka the Rolex President. David, are you ready to have an entire discussion about just one watch?
I'm so ready.
It's not really just a watch, it's kind of an institution, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I have been wearing the Rolex Day-Date 40, which is the latest iteration of the Day-Date. This watch goes back to 1956, as is said on the screen right there. Now it's several generations later, and I think this watch is still very relevant. I'll have a little bet with you at the outset.
Okay.
Okay, one, my bet is I think we're going to be able to have more than a 20-minute conversation. David thought that there was no way we could have more than a 20-minute conversation about the Rolex President. I think that we will be able to significantly exceed that comfortably.
Yeah, my point was whether or not we can do that comfortably. It's not that we can or cannot talk about a watch for friggin' days. We can, whether we will have any listeners left when we finish. That's the real question.
If we have any listeners left at the end of this discussion, comment, like the video or the podcast, whatever. Let us know that you listened to the entire conversation. Okay, so let's begin with when the Day-Date or the President was first introduced to you and I. When I was first introduced to the Day-Date, I knew it was a luxury watch, and I knew that it was a Rolex, obviously, and I knew that it wasn't something for me. Like, I had no interest in this watch, and I didn't really quite understand it. So my first relationship with this watch was, I would say, ambivalence. I'm a big fan now, but we haven't gotten there yet. What about you?
The first time I had it in my hand, to be honest, especially these new models, was back at Baselworld. I think it was in 2015 or something like that when they launched it. And then I remember being just deeply impressed. It was just a fantastic watch. If this is, I guess we could say, can we call this the flagship model of Rolex if there was such a thing? I think it is. Do you know why I think it is?
Why do you think it is?
You go to Rolex.com, and of course, you know what you see here on the main page changes, but usually it's the Day-Date 40 unless they are pushing something else. And then if you go here to the Rolex watches menu, the first thing is the Day-Date 40. And everywhere you look, you will see the Day-Date 40 to be the first and foremost Rolex that they are pushing. Even though I'm pretty sure, I guess it's not a stretch to say, it's not their bestseller watch by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I know that Datejust is the best-selling watch, and I think that's important to sort of put Rolex consumers into two categories. There's obviously more than two, but there's the Rolex as a jewelry watch crowd, and there's a Rolex as a high-end sports watch crowd.
Absolutely.
And these are two different types of demographics. The jewelry watch crowd beats the other crowd in just sheer volume. Obviously, the people that are into sport watches tend to communicate more about it online and things like that. But it's the sports watch people that talk about it. It's the jewelry watch people that make Rolex most of their money. And as a flagship men's jewelry watch, the Day-Date is that. And I want to talk about that, but tell me, do you agree that this is a flagship men's jewelry watch?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go back to the origin of this watch. What did this watch do for the first time? So first, Rolex came out with a watch with the date on it. Oh my gosh. And then this watch is the first one that has the date and the day of the week. Okay, and it's unique because this is one of the only watches that I know of where the day of the week is spelled out completely. And it might seem like a little, trivial matter, but it's true, right? There's a certain degree of distinctiveness. You always think to yourself, what other watches look like this? And ever since there he is, the original one from 1956, interestingly enough, even though to you and I this watch looks different, it looks remarkably similar to the 1956 version. I'm talking about the Day-Date 40. Would you agree?
Yeah, very close. Yeah, let's describe this for those of you who are just listening and not seeing what we're saying.
Go ahead.
So yeah, this is what we're seeing here is from 1956. So you can imagine. I'm not even sure it doesn't say it here, but it's definitely a smaller watch than what we have here. I would venture saying 36, 37. I guess some historians will be crying out right now, how can you not remember it with 35? I honestly have no clue what's the size on there. It already had the Cyclops back in 1956 because of the date. Just it already had like prior to this, I believe. Yeah, it's a great looking watch in yellow gold, polished center links on the bracelet, on the president bracelet, brushed on the outside, brushed case, and a fluted bezel in gold, obviously, of course. Um, which is not as high quality as it is today, but the overall look and feel of the watch is just extremely high quality, very proportionate. So it's a great looking watch, and it's back from 1956 when not all watches were that great, to be honest. So this is a very strong foundation that Rolex could build upon to create the Day-Date 40 that they launched in 2015.
So when I was getting in the watches, the largest size of the Day-Date was 36 millimeters wide, and it wasn't until several years ago where the Day-Date grew up to 40 millimeters wide. Well, actually, before that, it was 42 with the Day-Date 2. I was never really into that. It wasn't really a perfect watch. The Day-Date 2 came out in the mid-2000s, maybe, no, 2007, 2008, maybe. And that's when it went up to 41 millimeters wide.
I think at 41, yeah.
I don't remember exactly what year it came out. Then it went down to 40 millimeters, where the date just was 41. So small difference there. At 36 millimeters wide, it was too small for me to consider at my then taste, because that was just too small. I was wearing watches 42 millimeters and up, and even though it was a big wearing 36, it just wasn't enough there. But anyways, let's go back. I
Let's
think
just say really fast that the Day-Date 2 was not a very proportionate or good looking watch, to be honest.
No.
Not just in retrospect. Even then and there, everyone pretty much knew. I think it was too brash. It got a little bit too into the trends of the day. Late 2000s or thereabouts. Everything was getting big, and Rolex wanted to be big without saying they are big. It's a really funny thing where it's like they call it a 41, but it looks like a 43 basically. I'm looking at a picture here of a platinum model, and it looks like a fat Day-Date 40 basically, because there's so much bezel and so much case around the tiny dial. It's just it doesn't look right.
Yeah, Rolex screwed up some of the proportions, and they'll never admit it. But for example, I think one of the issues was they were using the same movement as the smaller version, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think they were using the same movement. The crown was the exact same size as the smaller watch. So you had this crown that seemed proportionally smaller, and
yes, that's correct.
So and then Rolex realized they had an issue. Like, oh, wait a minute. And again, they totally made up for it in the Day-Date 40, but the Day-Date 2 and the Date Just 2, like, I don't know. Those just aren't watches you really need to get. But again, I want to go back to 1956 because you really have to understand what Rolex was trying to do with this watch at the time. Now, the addition of the day of the week was an additional piece of information for people that were in business, right? Who needed to know the day of the week? If you were in business, it was important for you. Certain things happen on some days and not others. And if you knew the date, well, that didn't tell you everything, right? So this was a business person's watch. And what's also interesting about it is this watch is an exercise in making an all gold watch as durable as possible. And I continue to think that for today, the Day-Date and the Date Just, well, it used to be. Now it's the Date Just has always been the lower end version because it's steel and gold, or steel. One of the things I think it's important to mention is the Day-Date is all gold. I don't know in the past if it's always been that way, but today, if you want to buy the Day-Date 40, it's all gold or platinum. It's yellow gold, it's ever rose gold, it's white gold, it's platinum. Bunch of different dial versions, but this is for Rolex the top of the line men's kind of dressy jewelry watch. It's obviously not the Cellini because it's a little bit more flashy than the Cellini, but it's also a sport watch. It's this merger, and I think it's really important to say that in doing a blog to watch, we have to categorize watches. It's a dive watch, it's a driver's watch, it's a pilot watch, it's a dress watch. The Day-Date and the Date Just, for that matter, always, for me, defied categorization. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I realize that the reason is because so few other watches have actually tried to be durable men's jewelry watches.
So many watches want to be that, you said?
No, so few, so
Yeah,
few.
exactly. Exactly. Yes. There aren't many that want to be that. Most of the time, oh, of course it's 30 meters of water resistance because how dare you go near standing water with this watch on, and this one, the Day-Date 40, has 100 meters of water resistance. So you can rest assured that if someone pushes you into a pool, you will not have to freak out because it's gonna take you well. Nothing's gonna happen to it. So yeah, I totally agree that the overall these technical details are still there in this watch, and we'll talk about the movement later.
Now, one of the things that the way I sort of describe it to people is this: do you want the quintessential all gold watch? That's what this watch is. This is the quintessential all gold watch. Gold case, gold bracelet, gold hands, and I even believe the dials are gold. Movement is not gold. If you want that, you get into something like FP Jour, and it doesn't need to be. The whole point of the movement is for it to work.
Yes.
But this is like, if you're like a guy, I guess, or a woman for that matter, and you're like, you know what, I love the idea of an all gold watch. I also love the idea of stable value or a very, dependable brand. That's Rolex. And I want it to be handsome while kind of like perpetually appropriate, but also is a little bit showy.
Yes.
Like it's a very versatile watch. This watch never is like, oh, why are you wearing this? This doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's boring. Honestly, this watch is sometimes so non-offensive it can come across as boring. At other times, you're like, wow, this is exactly what you want.
I would say it very much depends on how you spec it. If you want it to be under the radar, you get it in white gold with like one of these dials with these thick with these structured Roman numerals for the indices. This is a very laid back watch. Or if you want to make more of a statement, you get it in all gold. I mean, all yellow gold or all Everose gold, as opposed to all white gold, and people will be able to tell, "Oh, okay, that's a lot of watch right there." And the strange thing is, they are priced very nearly the same, so you're not going to pay that much less or that much more for either of these as long as it comes in gold, because all of these models come on the gold case, gold bracelet, gold bezel, everything is gold, like you said. So the way you spec it has a big impact on how this watch is going to come across when you wear it around.
That's true. I mean, basically the dial you choose, and there are a few bezels. You can get a bezel with diamonds on it. That's fine, but honestly, I don't see why you get one of these watches without the fluted bezel. That's what it's known for. The platinum version is a smooth bezel, but I'm just guessing because this type of bezel wouldn't look good if cut in platinum, and that Rolex
They
would be
couldn't.
weird.
They couldn't do it in platinum. They will never say it, but they say, oh, platinum is always a smooth bezel. Of course it is, because platinum is extremely difficult to work with. So good luck making a fluted bezel out of platinum. It will just eat through the tools that you would need to make it, and they couldn't justify that. It's never gonna happen. It's impossible to do.
Um, are there better watches out there? And this is something we're going to return to again at the end of this conversation. Oh, this is the one from Basel
Wow.
2018. The meteorite dial.
Day-Date 40 with a meteorite dial with baguette diamond indices. Holy crap.
Yeah, I put this watch on at Basel 2018. We actually wrote an article. I don't think it published yet. Um, but it's
Ooh.
it's it's fantastic. It's fantastic. But it was, I was going to say before, that watch is about $46,000 US.
Yeah.
Um, but about 10,000 less without the dial, that dial. But
Mhm.
is there a better watch out there, quality for the money and value for the money, of an all gold watch?
That's a
So
tricky question.
we're talking that retail's about 35,000.
Well, the easy answer would be no, but I want to think about it. I mean, all gold, meaning it comes on a gold bracelet. So who else comes on like, there are a few Omegas that come on a gold bracelet sometimes, but they are not really known for that. Uh, hmm. Like, AP comes to mind. I guess some people would say AP. Yeah, well, here's the funny thing. You can get one of those APs, even though some of them retail for like 50 grand, you can pick them up for mid 30s, mid to high 30s is what I see. I've just checked them out online in some places, and that's what they are going for. While good luck getting a big discount from a Day-Date 40, it's not really going to happen. At least not in my mind, it's not going to happen. So, so because like I'm pretty sure Rolex has told all the retailers that you're not going to discount heavily on our flagship product. It's just not going to happen. So for the mid 30s, low 40s, I would say AP comes to mind. I'm not sure who else.
Look, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, the Patek Philippe Nautilus, a lot of other watches like this are going to cost you a lot more money and are not going to be as well machined. Here's a good example. This watch, the Day-Date 40, the newest one, and I'm wearing one right now, and I knew this at Basel, but I never was able to see it. When you take out the screws in the links of the bracelet, there is a small, thin ceramic tube that the screw goes inside of. I've never seen a screw that operates quite like this, especially with the tube, because it's where the threading in the screw is. It's quite interesting how it's engineered. But it's like a tiny ceramic straw. It's very, very small. It's hollow. And it's in each side of the links so that when the bracelet moves, it articulates. The gold is moving against ceramic, and there isn't metal on metal movement.
Yeah, they launched that with this Day-Date 40 back in 2015. That's what happened. That was super impressive.
How much was that gold Royal Oak you were just looking at?
It was 39.5. There
Which
was another
size,
one.
What size watch is that one?
That's a 39. It's basically the same size. So it's 39. The Day-Date 40 is 40.
And this is a much less conspicuous watch because the Royal Oak, that's a thin watch.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying that the I always want to say Datejust. The Day-Date is too thick of a watch, but especially because of the bezel, you can see it more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the same guy that wants a Day-Date wants a Royal Oak. I just don't, like a gold Royal Oak. I just don't see that as being the same type of person.
Yeah. That's.
But honestly, what else is there? You know, is there an Omega, a solid gold Aquaterra? Does it really have the same presence?
No, it won't. It won't.
But that's Omega. They have the Day-Date version of the Aquaterra. I don't know if they still make the one that has the full, day of the week spelled out. But they're really the only one that tried to copy Rolex. Well, copy is the wrong word, but try to have their version of it. I mean, that's what the Aquaterra is.
Let me see. Yeah, that's true. Aquaterra 150. Nah.
So how much is that one? How much? I just want to know how much that one is. They have the price there. So we're looking at the price of the full rose gold. I'm sorry, is it Sedna gold? Yeah, Sedna gold. Aquaterra.
Reveal the price.
43. So this is their This is their annual count.
Sorry, the price is not available in your country. Welcome to my life.
What?
It's not. It never is. It never is. Let's go to good old Jama Shop because they tell you the prices it is. Retail is 37.5, as they say.
That's actually more, I believe, than the Rolex.
It's just like, oh my god. Woo! 37.5 for this watch, I think, is a bit of a stretch. As much as I love Omega, it's a stretch.
Well, look, Omega makes a great product, but we know that the bracelet and the case is not going to be quite as well finished as the Rolex.
And it's not their natural sort of environment, Let's compare, which we won't do now, but if we were comparing sport watches, then yeah, Omega can really step on the toes of Rolex with the new Planet Ocean and so on. So Omega has a lot going for it, but not with this watch.
Okay, so let's talk about the name President. This is, I think, an important part of the conversation. It's not an official name of the watch, but it is the official name of the bracelet, interestingly enough. So the official name of this bracelet is the President Bracelet. Now, I don't know the exact reason, but I believe that the Rolex Day-Date is sort of nicknamed the President because, especially when it came out, there was a bunch of different presidents that wore one. I
was going to say Eisenhower actually. That was on my mind, but I didn't want to.
It's a total Eisenhower watch.
Yeah, I didn't want to say something stupid. I was like, I will Google it first, but I'm seeing it here.
But he wasn't the only one. There was a few presidents. Obviously, it was 1956 and later. Look, Rolex at the time. Why did President wear them? Well, it wasn't because they were like, man, I love Rolex branding. I guess it was, but there wasn't that much competition.
Yep.
There was fancier Swiss watches that were more finicky.
Yeah.
What was available in the U.S. These guys were politicians, and they weren't going to Europe to buy watches.
Yeah. That's
They
true.
were they were you know they were buying what's available. If you wanted a good looking, high quality men's impressive like jewelry watch, that's what you got.
Yeah, exactly. And Rolex was well distributed in the U.S. at the time.
Very well distributed and very well regarded. But again, at that time, what were people concerned about? Is it going to work well? Is it going to break? Is it going to tell good time? So Jake's Rolex World has done a really good job. I think at RolexMagazine.com, and you can read a lot about the Rolex President. I have heard some people call it the Rolex Presidential. I don't
Yes,
know where this came from.
so weird.
I I've heard this a lot, especially in like urban culture or maybe in like rap music. I think maybe that's
Yeah,
where this terminology originated.
yeah.
But it presidential is an adjective.
Yeah.
So
So
I mean,
it's the French way of saying presidential Rolex. It's the worst. Yeah, there's a lot of work here. I freaking love RolexMagazine.com or Jake's
yeah,
Rolex World. It's a great, great place to find knowledge about Rolex.
yeah, he's done a very good job. Okay, so again, the latest iteration is the Day-Date 40. It has Rolex's. It was the first watch to have Rolex's new 3200 series of movements. These are the ones that are the superlative chronometers. Actually, a lot of them are, but these are the ones produced, as Rolex says, with some of their newer, more high precision techniques. There's a picture of the movement on the screen, accurate to plus or minus 2 seconds a day.
Yeah.
It's just sort of their latest generation of stuff. The Date Just 41 now has a version of it. There's the new version of it in the GMT Master 2. So Rolex is slowly incorporating this architecture into more watches. But I guess to
No.
answer your question, it is the flagship because this is the model that they use to introduce this new family of movements.
Yes. Yeah. That's what happened, and then it was. It's a bit of gloating, but it's true. I was the one who discovered that they expanded this -2 plus 2 testing and all that to their entire production. And I clearly remember the day. It was like on like in a 14-page PDF document on like page 8 in a weird paragraph like of the fourth or fifth sentence where it said, "Oh, and like the entire production of Rolex, this and that watch, blah blah blah, is tested to the superlative chronometer certification standard." And then we had to reach out, and I remember I called the AD here, and we got confirmation from headquarters, and they said, "Oh yeah, we are totally doing it. We're totally making near a million watches." They didn't specify, but 800,000 or more watches a year to the standard of -2 plus 2 seconds of accuracy. But you are right, this was debuted with the Day-Date 40 back in 2015. But right now, every single Rolex watch that is made is tested in-house to be accurate to within -2 plus 2 seconds.
Well, congratulations for discovering that information. You're doing the world of watch lovers a great service,
I'm
Davis.
doing
I think
God's
I'm going
work
to be
here.
I'm clapping for you right now.
Slow clap.
I hear other people clapping as well. Let's give a round of applause to David, everyone.
Hey!
+2, -2, David is what I like to call him.
I have that tattoo actually. No.
So I wore this watch and I remember thinking two things. One, damn, this watch looks like appropriate anywhere all the time.
Mm.
And sometimes I think to myself, this is a very vintage style watch. I don't want to say old man watch because I think that's it's just an
Unkind.
incorrect and nasty thing to say.
Yes.
But like there is nothing youthful about this design. It's kind of like slipping into like a I'm trying to think of like some type of home that has like old architecture, like neo-Roman, like with Corinthian columns. Like there's nothing modern about Corinthian columns. They look cool in the house. That's what this watch is. This watch is the Corinthian columns of timepieces.
You can always ruin it, and you can always place it into environments where it doesn't fit. You can forcefully fit it in there, but it's not gonna fit. Like in a Vegas casino, Corinthian columns are not really great, but you can find them in Vegas casinos. In the same way, how rappers and there's nothing wrong specifically with rappers, but let's be honest, this watch does not exactly represent a good fit into their lifestyle and the overall fashion. But yeah, you can totally make this into a blingy watch, but unless you know how to rock it, it's just gonna look stupid. The watch will be wearing you and not you the watch, so
Yeah, this is definitely one of those the watch will be wearing you things.
yeah.
It's like the reputation precedes
Yes.
itself. You wear a watch that is an institution. It's like wearing membership of a club. The club is telling you something, not you.
Yep.
Look, it's a great watch.
Ugh.
Sometimes I feel like a watch like this is better for people that have a very small watch collection. Like you are. I'm not saying you could be really into watches and have a small collection, but this is like, it's a very strong watch that'll serve a lot of purposes. You could wear this on a date. You could wear this to a board meeting. You could wear it casually with, not super casually. It's not a watch you wear with shorts, but you wouldn't look super weird. You
No.
wouldn't look super weird.
You can go out for lunch, wearing shorts in LA, and you can still rock this, even in yellow gold. In my mind, at least you can. Well, maybe that's because of LA and not the watch, but still.
But it's really a fantastic watch. I do think that if you look back, especially in the 90s, this was the rapper culture watch. These days, I think the hip hop community is more interested in, like, I guess they're a little bit more open minded and there's some much higher end stuff. But when things were still pure, like back in the late 80s and 90s, the president was like the it watch. And this is the watch that kind of spurred the whole aftermarket, like, bling bling. People would buy these and they would put as many diamonds as they could on there, like stuff that Rolex itself wouldn't even do. And then you started to have fake diamonds and things like that. People were buying real watches and they were putting fake diamonds in there because no one really know. And it became this sort of one-uppery.
I just googled iced out Rolex, and the eyesore that I have to endure right now is just.
I mean, look at it. Majority of these things are presidents.
Of course, yes, $60,000. The very high-end Rolex Day-Date President 2 gold watch.
Does that say 33 carats?
33-carat diamond classy. that's the contradiction of the day.
Jesus.
Woo! Hello Kitty diamonds all over this baby.
It
My
looks
God.
it looks like they look so good. It looks like Swarovski. But you know what the trick is? If you put not great diamonds next to yellow gold, they look whiter.
I
Six, just a hair under $60,000. This is, what the thing is? I don't even know who this watch impresses. It's so weird looking. It doesn't even.
It's not
like, I don't
2008 anymore. Right?
There we go.
Oh boy.
There we go. You really typed in the wrong thing. We're looking at. Why do they all have to have those, like, that horrible set of round diamonds on the bezel? That just doesn't look masculine at all. Rolex knows that if you want to have a masculine diamond bezel, you make that with baguettes.
Which is what I was looking at right here. You see?
Ta-da! Yeah, that Rolex makes. So, can you put yourself in Rolex's shoes and, like, imagine how they feel when there's an aftermarket diamonded out Rolex that looks worse than the ones they make? They've got to be, like, somewhat upset, right?
Yeah, like car makers when someone just destroys their, like, 911 or something like that. When you put this is sort of like a 911 kind of car, extremely expensive, still the flagship. Other products come and go from the brand and from other brands.
You see this as I don't see this as being a 911. I see this is like a Rolls Royce.
Maybe kinda.
Look, first of all, this is not a sports watch.
I was not looking for a car analogy. I was for this watch. I was looking
But
for.
you just started one, so now we have to talk about it.
Oh my God! Well, brace yourself.
Many of the audience members will not be able to sleep unless we successfully conclude this part of the conversation, where we figure out what kind of. It's not a Porsche. It's not a 911.
It is not, but I see, like, destroyed 911 sometimes painted like purple and all this kind of stuff, and I'm sure it hurts Porsche. That was my thinking, but I was not.
I'm sure that's sad in its own right.
Yeah, it makes me sad, so that's what I'm going for it. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of it's if it's bling out like it is as we see it here with the baguette set bezel and the baguette hour markers. It's close to a Phantom in blinginess, and of course, you can take this anywhere, and it's very noticeable. It's very easy to recognize, and it's still high performance like a Rolls Royce always is. So yeah, I guess that's a good analogy.
I've always said to myself that if I had to get an all gold watch, especially for the money, it would be a President. Probably yellow gold. I don't know what kind of dial exactly, but I always thought that if I had to get one solid gold watch,
Yep.
and again, focusing on value for the money, it's not like if I could spend double, I'd have a better option, to be honest.
That's a very good point. So what I wanted to do is ask which one is the one that you have right now in your hand in for review. I want to.
So I'm wearing, and this is kind of funny, the white gold one with the blue dial.
Okay, so white gold, fluted bezel, of course.
Yeah.
Blue dial?
Yeah, keep going. There we go. Blue.
Interesting. Just for the record, on the pictures here, this one looks more purple, so it's not the blue that people associate with the platinum version. So this is not ice blue. This is like this. What does it look like in person? Is it like this purple kind of blue?
It's like a metallic blue. It's got a sunray finishing. I mean, those applied. It's not the most legible one, but you can read the time. It's a hard way of explaining it.
Yeah, it's a semi glossy dial with glossy hands over it. It's never gonna be really legible.
It looks really nice though. The thing is, I've never been traditionally the biggest fan of white gold, and the reason has been, similar to what we talked about. It's hard to justify it because it really looks like steel.
Yeah.
Like if you really know what you're looking for, you're like, oh yeah, that isn't steel. But for the most part, it just looks like steel.
Yes.
Someone sees you wearing this as steel. It's that particular but you know it's not steel.
Yes.
And when you wear this watch, you're like, yeah, that's not steel. Why? Because it weighs a lot more.
Yeah.
The finishing, yeah, if you know what you're looking for, you can see gold finishing. It's a little bit different, but you know what? It looks like steel.
Yeah. Unless you really, really know your way around these materials and have handled a lot of these watches, then you can differentiate, the sheen, the depth.
Once you touch it. But I'm just saying, from a few feet away, you're wearing a steel watch. But Rolex doesn't make this watch in steel.
Never will.
Rolex knows that the right people, when they see this watch, know that it's not made in steel. So you have to like, you're impressing an audience that basically needs to know a lot of information about this collection already. So if anyone sees it, they're like, oh, it's a Rolex, it must be nice. But then it's another level of sophisticated consumer that knows, oh, this watch isn't even available in steel.
Duh. How dare you suggest that it's steel? It's not even available. Yeah, that's a good point. I started liking Everose more than I had been before.
You're a rose gold person. I'm a yellow gold person. You're a rose gold person.
No, I actually wanted since we handled these back in 2015, I wanted it in yellow gold because that's
when you're older. When you're older, David, we'll get you one.
Sounds good. Am I older yet?
No, rose gold for now.
All right. Well, I guess I can live with that.
If you get to be older than 75 and still wearing luxury watches, then you have ascended into white gold.
You bet I will be wearing luxury watches when I'm 75 if I live that long.
Yeah, we have no idea what one of these days, right?
Yes.
But I'm just saying, if it gets that far and you're still able to spend luxury watch money on watches,
yes,
then you don't have to wear white gold, but you can wear it and just get away with it every single time. People would be like, that's obviously white gold.
I quite like this Everose actually now with this full pavé dial. It's weird, but it's
how did you become more into diamond dials than I have? How did that happen?
I've handled some of these super blingy Rolexes, as you remember. Last time that was that crazy GMT that we talked about on the show. Before that, the Day-Date 40.
And then it got into your skin.
Yeah. I just forget a lot of these things.
Okay, so we have significantly gone more than 20 minutes talking about this. I think that and we could even talk more. We haven't really talked too much about the development history of the president. The point of this conversation was to sort of give you our experiences with the watch, a little bit of our history with them, what we feel about it. Again, this watch has been around since 1956. It's a long time. There have been many generations of the president, different sizes for men, for women, with precious, stones, without precious stones, all kinds of stuff. I would definitely like one of these watches, but you know what? It took me almost 2 decades of being interested in watches to feel that way. Yeah. So if you see the president, you're like, it's not for me. That's okay. maybe it'll take a while. Maybe it'll never be for you. I mean, not everyone just automatically wants a gold watch or a platinum watch. That's just not a thing for everyone, and that's okay. If it doesn't appeal to you, then it may never. Trust me, you're going to be totally fine going your whole life without having to spend money on a solid gold watch, okay?
Yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Don't
worry. But if you get the gold watch bug that bites you, you could spend a lot worse. A lot worse than a president. And I can't think of any gold watch that will give you as likely a decent resale value.
That's a good point. We haven't even looked at how much these are going for. That was a very nice ending, but I desperately want to find out how much these are going for.
With pleasure. Go ahead.
Let's do this.
Do you have anything to add to my my little closing statements there?
I like that very much. What you just said. I totally agree with that. Because sometimes when we talk about a watch, and let's just talk about luxury watches in general. The whole idea of a luxury watch is being exclusionary. When you're like, oh, you're not part of a club, so screw you. That's basically what it is. And just because you and I like the Day-Date 40, we really don't want anyone to feel that we're if someone doesn't like it, then they're out of our family or or our circle, so to speak. So if you don't like it, more power to you. It's all the better.
It's very simple. David and I, we didn't have like a mission to like this watch. I started being, if anything, hostile to it. And over the years, come to like it. Is this a watch I would want to wear every single day? No. But you know what? I can't think of any watch I'd want to wear every single day.
That's a good point. So what we're seeing here is that they are starting on Chrono 24 from 26.5. Whether or not that's legit, I have no idea.
I think if you buy this watch and you can sell it for like 20 to 25,000, like at any given week, you're okay.
Oh yeah, anytime you could sell for 25. You would be selling it for the least amount online.
I call this watch the get home from anywhere in the world first class. You can get anywhere in the world you are. You can get to the airport and get home, basically going first class most of the way there with this watch. You can trade it for that. Rolexes have been known for doing that, but this is the first class version of it. This isn't just a get home safely. Maybe you can trade like a Submariner for that. Get home safely. This is the get home really comfortably.
Yeah, and then cry a lot for trading your watch for a first class ticket. But yeah, that's how much it costs. That's right.
No, you go home and you buy another one immediately.
Yeah, that's the point. Your butler should be at the airport waiting for you with another one right at hand.
That green one's for you. That the anniversary version.
This one?
Yeah. The Ever-Rose with the kind of olive green dial.
Is it? I don't like it.
Oh yeah. I know you. You're like, you're gonna put it on with your eye. You do this thing with your eyes. They start to get glazy. You start to look like one of the Powerpuff Girls.
and then I'm like, I take it.
I can't live without this
anymore. All right, guys, this was good. What's that?
No, you're looking at it now. You're like, I like the colors better on Rolex's website.
Interesting.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening to this spending time episode on the Rolex Day-Date, aka the President. We hope you learned some valuable information, and we're interested in your comments. And we'll see you on the next show. Thanks.
See you. Bye.